Hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily English Podcast. I'm so happy you're here today. Whether you're listening while commuting to work, studying for an exam, exercising at the gym, relaxing at home, or getting ready for bed, thank you for spending part of your day with me. Today's episode is about something that almost everyone struggles with at some point in their lives. Overthinking. But here's the question. Have you ever replayed the same conversation over and over in your mind? Have you ever stayed awake at night because your brain simply refused to stop thinking? If that's happened to you, you're definitely not alone. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. What makes you overthink the most? Is it work? Relationships? Your future? Leave your answer in the comments below because I genuinely enjoy reading your thoughts, and your experiences may inspire future episodes. So, let's talk about your beautiful, busy, and sometimes exhausting mind. What if overthinking isn't actually your biggest problem? What if the real reason you're exhausted isn't because you're working too hard physically, but because your mind never gets a chance to rest? You might think you're solving problems by analyzing them, but what if you're actually creating problems that never existed in the first place? We will explore exactly why that happens, and later, you'll discover something even more surprising about why you overthink, a reason that almost nobody talks about, but one that might completely change how you view your own intelligence. But first, let's picture a scene. Imagine lying in bed at midnight. The room is dark. The house is quiet. Your body is incredibly tired. You've had a long day, and all you want to do is drift off into a peaceful sleep. You close your eyes. You take a deep breath. And then, a tiny thought pops into your head. Maybe it's about an email you sent to your boss earlier today. Did it sound too aggressive? Did you use the right words? Then, another thought appears. You suddenly remember a slightly awkward joke you made 3 years ago at a party. Why did you say that? What did those people think of you? Before you know it, your brain is wide awake. It feels like you have 20 different internet browser tabs open in your mind, and music is playing from one of them, but you can't figure out which one. Your body is tired, but your thoughts become louder than ever. You might recognize this feeling. It's frustrating. It's exhausting. And if you've experienced this before, let me remind you right now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. Your brain is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do, even if it feels extremely annoying in the modern world. You see, to understand why we overthink, we have to look back thousands of years. We have to look at the psychology of human survival. Our brains evolved to keep us safe, not to make us happy. Let me say that again, because it's so important. Your brain's primary job is to keep you alive, not to keep you relaxed. Thousands of years ago, if our ancestors were walking through the forest and heard a noise in the bushes, they had to overthink it. They had to assume it was a dangerous animal. The humans who thought, oh, it's probably just the wind, didn't survive. The humans who overanalyzed the situation, who worried, who expected the worst, those are the humans who survived and passed down their genes. This means that you have inherited a brain that is a master at looking for danger. Psychologists call this the negativity bias. It's a natural tendency to focus on negative details rather than positive ones. Today, we don't have to worry about wild animals in the bushes. But our brains haven't changed. So, instead of looking for physical danger, your brain looks for social danger, financial danger, or emotional danger. Your brain treats an unanswered text message the same way it used to treat a tiger in the jungle. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever sent someone a message, maybe someone you like, or a good friend? You can see that they read the message. But they don't reply. 1 hour passes. Nothing. 2 hours pass. Still nothing. Suddenly, your mind goes to work. Your brain starts creating 10 different explanations. Are they mad at me? Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me on purpose? Maybe they never really liked me at all. Your brain goes into survival mode. It tries to solve the mystery because uncertainty feels dangerous. But what usually happens? For hours later, they reply and say, "So sorry, I was in a long meeting," or "Sorry, my phone died." All that stress, all that anxiety, for absolutely nothing. I'm curious. Do you ever catch yourself doing this? Let me know in the comments if the read receipt on messages has ever caused you to overthink. It happens to the best of us. This brings us to a very important question. What is the actual difference between thinking and overthinking? Because thinking is good, right? We need to think to solve problems, to plan for the future, and to make good decisions. Here is the best way to understand the difference. Thinking is like driving a car toward a destination. You are moving forward. You are looking at a problem, finding a solution, and taking action. Overthinking is like sitting in a car, keeping the parking brake on, and pressing the gas pedal as hard as you can. The engine is roaring. You are burning fuel. It feels like you are doing a lot of work. But you are not moving. You are just spinning your wheels, creating smoke, and exhausting the engine. When you think, you find answers. When you overthink, you only find more questions. Have you ever noticed how overthinking rarely leads to a sudden, brilliant solution? Instead, it usually just leads to feeling overwhelmed. You start with one small worry, and it grows like a snowball rolling down a mountain. Let's look at another very common situation. Imagine finishing an important meeting at work or school. During the meeting, you shared an idea. People listened, the meeting ended, and everyone went back to their desks. A normal thinker says, "Glad that's over. Time for lunch." An overthinker spends the next 3 hours completely distracted. You wonder, did I speak too loudly? Did my boss look annoyed when I was talking? Why was my coworker looking at her phone? Was my idea stupid? You take a perfectly normal interaction and put it under a microscope. You examine every tiny detail, looking for a flaw, looking for a mistake. Why do we do this? Often, it comes down to a deep fear of judgment. We want to be accepted. We want to be respected. And because we can't read other people's minds, we try to guess what they are thinking. We try to control how other people see us. But here is a gentle reminder, and it's something that might bring you a lot of peace. People are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We walk through life feeling like there is a bright spotlight shining right on us, highlighting all our mistakes and awkward moments. We think everyone notices when we wear the wrong shirt, or when we stumble over our words. But the truth? Everyone else has their own spotlight pointing at themselves. Your coworker wasn't looking at her phone because your idea was stupid. She was looking at her phone because she was worried about her own life, her own problems, her own overthinking. Realizing this can be incredibly freeing. You are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed to be imperfect. The world will not end if you say the wrong thing. Earlier, I promised to share a surprising reason why people overthink, something that might change how you see yourself. We're going to get into that right now, and we'll come back to this idea of perfectionism later, because it completely changes how you see your own goals. So, here is the surprising truth. Overthinking is often a side effect of high intelligence and a strong imagination. If you are an overthinker, it means your brain is highly capable of seeing patterns, anticipating future scenarios, and connecting dots. You have a powerful engine in your head. Think about what overthinking actually requires. It requires memory, because you have to recall past events. It requires creativity, because you have to imagine multiple different futures. And it requires empathy, because you are often trying to understand other people's emotions. You cannot overthink if you don't have a vivid imagination. The problem isn't that your brain is broken. The problem is that your powerful imagination doesn't have a specific job to do, so it starts creating imaginary problems to solve. Overthinking is simply a misuse of a wonderful imagination. Instead of imagining all the wonderful things that could happen, an anxious mind imagines all the terrible things that could go wrong. When you realize that your overthinking is just your creativity pointing in the wrong direction, it becomes a little less scary. You realize you have a superpower, you just need to learn how to steer it. But left unsteered, this habit can take a heavy toll. Perhaps you've experienced this in your relationships. Let's talk about how overthinking affects the people we care about. When we overthink in a relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friendship, or a family bond, we start to practice something called mind reading. Of course, we can't actually read minds. But we think we can. Your partner comes home from work, and they are quiet. They walk into the kitchen, pour a glass of water, and sigh heavily. You ask, "Is everything okay?" They reply, "Yeah, just tired." If you are an overthinker, just tired is never just tired. Your brain immediately starts searching for hidden meanings. Why was his tone of voice so cold? Is he mad at me because I didn't wash the dishes? Is he losing interest in this relationship? What did I do wrong today? Within 5 minutes, you have convinced yourself that your relationship is failing, all because someone was a little quiet after a long day at work. Overthinking steals our happiness because it pulls us out of the present moment. You cannot enjoy a peaceful evening with your partner if your mind is busy fighting imaginary battles in the future. You cannot enjoy a beautiful dinner with your friends if you are busy analyzing a joke you made 30 minutes ago. Overthinking is a thief. It steals your joy, it steals your energy, and it steals your time. And perhaps the most exhausting part of it all is decision fatigue. Have you ever spent more time trying to choose a movie on Netflix than actually watching the movie? You scroll. You read the descriptions. You watch the trailers. You think, well, I want a comedy, but maybe not a romantic comedy. Action? No, too loud for tonight. 30 minutes later, you are frustrated, and you just go to sleep. Or maybe you go to a restaurant with a huge menu. There are 50 different things you could order. You narrow it down to 2 options. The chicken or the pasta. You agonize over this choice. If I get the chicken, maybe it will be dry. But if I get the pasta, maybe it will be too heavy. When the waiter finally comes to the table, you panic and order something completely different. This is decision fatigue. In our modern world, we are forced to make hundreds of small decisions every single day. Because an overthinker wants to make the perfect choice every time, their brain gets incredibly tired. We forget that most of our daily decisions simply do not matter. Whether you eat the chicken or the pasta will not change the course of your life. Whether you watch the action movie or the comedy will not define your future. But our brain, bless its hard-working little heart, treats every decision like a life or death scenario. So, how do we fix this? How do we stop the endless cycle of overanalyzing every word, every silence, and every choice? Well, first, let me tell you what doesn't work. Telling yourself to just stop thinking does not work. If I tell you right now, whatever you do, do not think about a bright pink elephant. Do not think about its big pink ears. Do not think about its long pink trunk. What are you thinking about right now? Exactly. A pink elephant. The human brain is very bad at negative commands. When you tell yourself, stop worrying about the presentation, your brain focuses purely on the presentation. You cannot fight thoughts with resistance. Fighting a thought only makes it stronger. There's a better way. And it starts with a simple shift in how you view your thoughts. Thoughts are just thoughts. They are not facts. This is a huge realization. Just because you think something, doesn't mean it is true. If you think, my boss hates me, that is a thought. It is a piece of data your brain produced. It is not necessarily reality. If you think, I am going to fail this exam, that is a feeling of anxiety disguised as a fact. One of the most practical things you can do when you catch yourself overthinking is to label the thought. Simply say to yourself, I am having the thought that my boss hates me. Notice the difference? My boss hates me feels like a scary reality. I am having the thought that my boss hates me creates distance. It separates you from the anxiety. It allows you to look at the thought from the outside, almost like you're watching a cloud pass by in the sky. You don't have to invite the cloud into your house. You can just let it float by. This takes practice, of course. But once you realize you are not your thoughts, you gain an incredible amount of freedom. Another powerful tool to stop overthinking is to understand your circle of control. Imagine drawing two circles on a piece of paper. A small circle, inside of a larger circle. The large outer circle contains everything in the world that you care about, but cannot control. This includes the weather, the economy, what other people think of you, how other people behave, and things that happened in the past. The small inner circle is your circle of control. This contains only the things you actually have power over. Your actions. Your words. Your attitude. Your choices today. Overthinking almost always happens when we try to live in the outer circle. We spend hours agonizing over what a friend thinks of us. Outer circle. We can't control it. We lose sleep worrying about an embarrassing mistake we made last week. Outer circle. The past cannot be changed. The secret to a calm mind is to focus all your energy on the inner circle. If you are worried about an upcoming job interview, and you find yourself overthinking, stop and ask yourself, what is in my control right now? You cannot control who the other candidates are. You cannot control what mood the interviewer will be in. But you can control how much you prepare. You can control getting a good night's sleep. You can control making sure your clothes are clean and ready. When you shift your focus from what you cannot control to what you can control, your brain stops spinning its wheels and starts driving forward. The anxiety begins to shrink because you are giving your brain a specific, useful job to do. Have you ever tried this? Has focusing on what you can control ever helped calm your nerves? I'd really love to hear your story below if you've ever used this kind of strategy. Now, what about those moments when it's late at night, you're trying to sleep, and the thoughts just keep coming? When the mental noise is too loud, you have to get the thoughts out of your head. Your brain is a terrible storage facility. When you try to keep all your worries in your head, they bounce around and create chaos. You need to give them a physical home. This is why writing things down is incredibly effective. Keep a notebook next to your bed. If you can't sleep because you're overthinking a problem or your to-do list for tomorrow, turn on a soft light, open the notebook, and write it all down. Don't worry about perfect grammar or beautiful handwriting. Just do a brain dump. Pour every thought, every fear, and every task onto the paper. Once it's on the paper, your brain will literally relax. It's as if your brain says, okay, we don't have to hold on to this anymore. It's safe on the paper. We can go to sleep now. This is such a small daily habit, but it can completely transform your evenings. Another daily habit that calms an overactive mind is to bring yourself back to your physical body. Remember, overthinking is a mental activity. It pulls you entirely into your head, usually into the future or the past. To stop it, you must return to the present moment, and the fastest way to the present moment is through your physical senses. When you feel your mind spinning out of control, try the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. It's very simple, and you can do it anywhere, at your desk, on a bus, or walking in the park. Look around you and quietly name 5 things you can see. Maybe a coffee cup, a tree, a blue pen, a cloud, a window. For things you can physically feel: the chair you're sitting on, the fabric of your shirt, your feet on the floor, the breeze on your face. 3 things you can hear: the hum of the refrigerator, a car driving by, birds outside. 2 things you can smell: your coffee, the fresh air. 1 thing you can taste: maybe your toothpaste, or a mint. This isn't just a distraction. It's a psychological interrupt. You are forcing your brain to process real-time sensory data, which physically stops the cycle of anxious overthinking. You are telling your brain, look around. We are safe right here, right now. It's like resetting your computer when it freezes. You just need a gentle reboot. Earlier, I mentioned we would come back to the idea of perfectionism. Because this is the silent engine behind so much of our overthinking. Many of us overthink because we are absolutely terrified of making a mistake. We want everything to be perfect. The perfect email, the perfect outfit, the perfect relationship, the perfect career. But perfection is a trap. It is an illusion. When we aim for perfection, we become paralyzed. We are so afraid of doing something wrong that we end up doing nothing at all. Or, we do something, and then spend hours criticizing ourselves for not doing it better. I want you to try adopting a new philosophy. A softer, kinder philosophy. Progress over perfection. Good enough is often exactly that, good enough. That email you spent 20 minutes rewriting? The first draft was probably good enough. That decision about which restaurant to go to? Any choice that results in you eating food with friends is good enough. Give yourself permission to be beautifully, normally imperfect. Give yourself permission to make small mistakes, to learn from them, and to move on without punishing yourself. Life is far too short to spend it trapped inside a cycle of overanalysis. You deserve to experience the world as it happens, not just replay it in your mind afterward. As we get close to the end of today's conversation, I want you to remember something very important. If you are an overthinker, you have a deep capacity for caring. You overthink because you care about your work, you care about your friends, and you care about your future. Caring is a beautiful trait. It means you have a big heart and an active mind. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to learn how to turn the volume down sometimes. You need to remember that your thoughts are just visitors. You are the sky, and your thoughts are just clouds passing by. Some clouds are dark and heavy, some are light and fluffy. But none of them are permanent, and none of them can damage the sky. When you find yourself overthinking today or tomorrow, take a deep breath. Acknowledge the thought. Ask yourself what is actually in your control. And then, gently bring yourself back to the present moment. Small changes matter. You won't stop overthinking overnight, and that is perfectly okay. Progress is more important than perfection. Every time you catch yourself overthinking and choose to take a deep breath instead of spiraling into panic, you are winning. You are rewiring your brain. You are learning to find peace in a noisy world. If today's episode helped you in any way, please give this video a like and subscribe to Daily English Podcast for more relaxing and meaningful English listening practice. And before you leave, I'd really love to hear from you. What's one thought you've been overthinking lately? Share it in the comments below. Your story might encourage someone else who's going through the same thing. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourself. Keep learning. Keep growing. And I'll see you in the next episode of Daily English Podcast.